In the previous video, we jumped in the grid and we saved very basic presets of the additional filter types inside of Bitwig Studio that you'll find in Polymer, but nowhere else. And basically what that will allow you to do is use those filters in different places and in different ways, just gives you more variety. Bitwig's all about being a modular environment, and so we're going to take things a little bit further in this video and talk about how you can combine pretty much any filter with any synthesizer, whether it's a built-in device or it's a plugin. Now, like always, this isn't something you're going to do all the time, and if you're kind of new to music production and you're just learning different synthesizers and learning different filter sounds and all of that stuff, which is what we're going to talk about in the next video, this may be something that you'd hold off on for a bit. But if you're somebody that's been working with synthesizers and filters for a long time and has always thought, like, wouldn't it be great if I could take the Moog synthesizer minus its filters and replace it with, you know, some kind of a filter from Serum or a digital filter or whatever, another analog filter. Really, it's totally up to you. You can do whatever you want to do here. And we're just going to talk about how to set it up. And at the very end, I'll just give you one example that I remember where I actually did this. And I can only really remember one example. So that goes to show that this isn't something that you're going to do all the time, but it is a cool thing and it lets you take advantage of the modularity of Bitwig. So here's a great example. We have a sampler pulled up and it has this Tolka Juno chorus sound. And you can hear it here. Right, we got that. Now, what is built into this is a filter, and we can see that that is actually routed to one of our main macros here. So I can pull this back. And we can hear the sound that that filter is doing, right? We can hear that unique characteristic. We can add in resonance if we want to do that. We can change the filter shape. We could always throw on in the modulators an additional like envelope or whatever, or take advantage of this envelope and put it to the cutoff. All right, we could do all of those things, but maybe we want to use a different type of filter. We want to use a specialty filter. We could maybe even try to use the Juno filter if we had that in the form of a plugin. What do we do? Well, with a Bitwig instrument, it's really easy. So just inside of the effects slot, you can go ahead and put whatever you want. And in this example, I'm just using Serum and the Serum effects. And I pull that up and I can pull up the filter. And right away, I have access to all the various filters that come inside of Serum. So let's go to the miscellaneous. Let's use something like the French low pass. Let's add some resonance. Let's add some drive. Let's do what we can do to make this more unique. So obviously that sounds radically different to what we were just hearing with the built-in one. Now, what's really great about Serum is it's actually easier to go and to set up an envelope, because you can see it's reacting to our MIDI note, than it would be to actually add one in Bitwig, but you could do it with Bitwig too. And we'll just like put that onto the cutoff. And let's just set up something here really quickly. And again, that's going to sound radically different to if we tried to set up the same thing. So that's just a very quick example using a Bitwig instrument and then throwing on a plugin. If your plugin does not have a built-in, like, you know, envelopes or LFOs or whatever, here's what you would do. So here we have an example of like the minimoog filter from Arturia. And there might very easily be a way to actually set this up internally inside of the instrument, but we're not even going to bother with that. What we're going to do instead is just set up a modulator here, and I'll just put it right inside of the plugin. So we'll just use an ADSR, and I'll just go ahead and send that to the cutoff. And then if I wanted to go in and fine tune it, I could do that like so. So there you have it. That would be the way that you would work with a Bitwig instrument. Here we have a preset from Repro 1. it sounds very good, but maybe we want to use a different filter. So I'm just going to bring the cutoff all the way up. And then I'm going to use a plugin. So it doesn't matter if you bundle it inside the instrument or if it's outside the instrument, but I would probably put it inside the instrument just because it is connected and it'll be a little bit easier for you when you're managing and trying to edit stuff. But again, to each their own. So we have this plugin in here. Let's just bring our cutoff frequency down a bit more. Just take a listen. Cool. And then if we want to add on the envelope or we want to add on any modulator, we could do it the same way. And again, let's set it up this way. I'm going to bring the modulator all the way over to repro. And then since it is bundled together, we will be able to take it and then apply it all the way to the instrument. So if this instrument was outside, we wouldn't be able to, but because it's bundled inside, we can. And we'll just put it onto the filter frequency here. And, you know, we're pretty much in business. And we can bring up more resonance. And we can play around with the color. You know, we can do all sorts of different things. So there you go. That's the basics here of setting up a plugin or a different filter with a plugin instrument. Let's talk about the practical applications of this. The first one's really obvious. It's when you're just trying to add on more filters and more modulators because you've run out of those inside of the synthesizer that you're working in. So you can use this technique. You can throw on more filters. You can add on modulators and off you go. So that's the obvious use case of this and something that people probably already do a lot of. The not so obvious one is more for the sound designers out there that are just trying to make things a little bit more unique and more their own. So Bitwig facilitates it, being such a modular environment, but you can experiment by adding a minimoog filter onto a Jupiter synthesizer, just as one example. Really, the sky's the limit with this. And not a lot of other people are doing that. So it's going to add some kind of unique distinction to your sounds. And it's also just really easy and a lot of fun to set up. If you're a music producer, 99% of the time, you're not going to do this, right? Like you are going to pull an instrument. It either has the sound you're looking for or it doesn't, and you kind of move on. And there's only one scenario where I actually remember doing this, and that was when I was collaborating with somebody and they had used an older version of like the minimoog from Arturia, and it just wasn't fitting with the rest of the track because it was kind of a very clean and digital sort of sounding track. And so that minimoog just threw it off a little bit. And the bass patch was good, but the filter movement and something about the filter sound just wasn't working. So we ended up swapping that out with just the generic Bitwig filter and applied the envelope, and it worked quite well. It ended up being what we went with. So that's the one time I ever really remember doing this, and it did work. But again, this is totally up to you to experiment with. If you are a sound designer, this is a lot of fun to do. Or if you're somebody that a lot of times is thinking, oh, I don't really have enough tools, I can't really get that much variation, you absolutely can. Even with just the stuff that's bundled in, or you just have a couple of additional synthesizer plugins, look, you're not that limited. As you could see from this video, you can really transform your sounds just by swapping out and experimenting with the filters. So thank you for watching. And in the next video, we're actually going to talk about, how you can kind of hear some of these differences and start to get that knowledge bank to know when do I want to pull to this filter, or, when do I want to pull to this synthesizer, and try to give you a bit of a crash course on that if you don't already have a lot of experience working with different synthesizers and filters. So thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.